avid readers, book nerds, or casual observers. Welcome to the read-along brought to you by the Lit Roundtable. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and this is our read-along of The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. All right, guys, it's part 8.
Part 8!
Of The Republic of Thieves, and wouldn't you know it, you're a wizard, Locke.
Okay, before we get into all of that, don't forget, if you're a member of our Patreon, you get voting rights on our next read-along. You've got 3 choices. We've got, a Magic Steeped in Poison, A Song of Wraiths and Ruins, and Elatsoe. So those are your choices. If you're not a patron of our Patreon, go get those sweet, sweet voting rights, my guy. Okay. Chapter 9 is called The 5-Year Game, Reasonable Doubt. Then we had an Intersect. Number 3, called Spark. An Interlude, called an... I didn't write that very clearly. I believe it's Inconvenient Patron.
An Inconvenient Patron is
Nice.
Correct.
I was missing the C. The Innovenient.
Innovenient Patron.
And then chapter 10, The 5-Year Game, Final Approaches. And the last interlude, Death Masks. Last interlude for today.
Death Masks.
I'm sure there's more.
That's such a metal... That is such a metal name.
Yeah.
Okay. There is one more interlude.
Nice. Did you finish the book already?
No. But I when I was scrolling, I was looking through the chapters on Audible to see like what was left, and there is one more interlude. Yeah.
There's not a lot left, you guys.
Yeah, and you can tell there's so many things happen in these 2 chapters and interludes. It's pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
Do you want to just like split it in half and talk about like interlude world and then chapter world?
I think that makes it the cleanest. Yes. So let's talk about chapter world first.
Chapter. Because I already said, you're a wizard, Locke.
Yes. So, I mean, we theorized that, but like wrote it off pretty quickly that could not be possible. Honestly, I still don't know if it's possible.
I'm not 100% sold. I think Jean is right that like Patience has done to them what they do to other people when they're like trying to sell them on a story, you know, like she checked off all the boxes of like possible objections to it, and she made it as believable as possible. Now it's just, is it actually true? I don't know. The people in the Intersect think that it's, or the people in the Intersect think that it's true,
right?
Which is also kind of disturbing. That like, no, this is actually a name of a former mage, and like. So we as readers kind of have that corroboration from them that is a real person who was a mage. So it's kind of weird that Locke thought that was his name. But was he actually that person? Or did he just know the name?
Right. Okay, so Patience's story is that this other mage, wife was killed, went into grief, dabbled in necromancy, was trying to bring her back, and somehow sent his own soul into the body of this boy.
Yeah, he was like experimenting. He was trying to find a way to cheat death, basically.
Right.
And
so here are my issues with that story. I don't think it makes any sense then and this is kind of looking at the interlude, so this is a little bit of a gray area, but I think that like, wouldn't there be things then about him being in Carthane that would like unlock memories? That he'd be like, oh, like I've been here. Oh, I've done this. Because and he also like had a full childhood. Like he has years that he doesn't remember before the Black Mist. But he has memories as a young boy with the Thief Maker, with Father Chains, like into adolescence, into young adulthood. Like, he went through puberty again, which, like, obviously, because the body he's in would have to go through that. But, like, he didn't have any kind of, like, leg up on having already done it once before. He's still super awkward.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's what she's saying is that whatever happened, it basically turned him into a blank slate. Like he has zero memory of his life before, because that's
hmm.
really the only way that you can sell it. Because otherwise, yeah, he would be living his life with in a constant state of deja vu,
But if that's the
you know.
case, if it set him back to zero, then why does it matter that that's who he was?
Yeah, that's
It wouldn't
I
matter. Like if he went back to zero and there's no way of reclaiming like who he was before,
mhm.
then what's the point? Except to upset Sabetha and Locke's thing going on.
Yeah, I think what she said, if I remember right, because it's been a little while since I read this section, if I remember correctly, she said that even if you like somehow transported your soul into the body of someone who isn't gifted with magic, and so like you can't use magic anymore and you have no memories of being able to use magic, those I think what they want to do is try to like awaken him and bring those memories back, because she said that he would have done something that no mage has ever done before. So I think that they want that knowledge, right? They want to know how to put your body or put your soul into another body and like cheat death. So I think that is her supposed alleged motivation to like getting him back in Carthane. And I mean, we know now
Yeah.
that a lot of the mages, now that they know about this, want to like poke and prod at him, and they want to like the other side. Now that the other side knows about it, now we saw in the intersect that they're ready to just like kidnap our boy Locke once
Mm-hmm.
the election's over, and they're just gonna take him, and
Yeah.
we'll see what they plan to do. But
Yeah. I just I don't know. There are too many
yeah, it's a lot.
things. Like the fact that he knew his mother was a seamstress and that was her other name. Well, what if it wasn't
Hmm.
actually her other name and she's just
Right? Yeah,
said
that could have
that?
been a lie. Yeah.
Um, I and like okay, so let's say he did know this other Lamore.
Hmm.
But what if it was? What if it's not so much that like he became like this other soul got shunted into his body, as much as like while that other person was in Camor and saw this little orphan boy on the street and was like, oh, and this guy was like out of touch with the other magi for how who knows how long. And what if he like just had a moment of compassion and like took this kid in and then everything blew up. And
I
that's why
think
Locke knows the name
did
Lamore.
Locke's parents? Well, here's my question: does Locke think that his parents died in that Black Mist plague,
I
or
think
were
he
they dead
doesn't
before
know.
then?
I think he doesn't know.
Hmm.
I think he came out of the Black Mist with some amnesia, which like does lend to her theory. But what if he was just like close to the Nexus and was
Yeah,
somehow shielded from it, but not necessarily like then inhabited by this other person's soul?
yeah. She claims that they recovered a body of this Lamore guy, but obviously, of course, we have no way to prove that either. That could
Well,
be a lie.
but like that doesn't just because you recovered his body doesn't tell you what happened to his soul.
Right, right, right. No, I just mean that it's not like the guy was never there in the first place.
Right, right,
Um, Assuming she's being truthful about recovering a body,
right.
which the intersect those people, you know,
Corroborated that.
seemed seemed to like their reactions seemed to line up with that. But
Right. I'm just saying that it could be that Locke knows that name
mhm,
because he had an association with that person before everything blew up, and not because he
right,
is that person reincarnated in this boy's body.
right. I think
Because
that
then what happened to the boy's soul? If that happened, is there
right.
like a little boy's soul somewhere in this body that's just been like traumatized by all this garbage?
Yeah. Or was the body vacant already? Like was the you know
Yeah. Was it already a
this is
dead
weird
body?
necromancy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
I think I like the idea that maybe they just knew he was acquainted with this person,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he knew the name. I think it could be a wholesome thing, um, but
We're not
knowing the
really,
bonds magi,
yeah, we're not really lent to wholesome things.
yeah, and just knowing this series, I wouldn't. The wholesome approach to their relationship isn't the one that I would theorize. I would say maybe because we know that like trauma can cause like big gaps in memory if you have
Sure.
like a traumatic childhood.
Sure.
So what if he was in fact experimented on by this guy, and Locke knows his name because of this, and knows who he is, and was like there being experimented on, but I mean, we still don't know if the experiments worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could still just be him and not this mage that took over his body.
Or he could have just been observing. Like Locke is very good at like getting into small places
Mm-hmm.
and watching.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been outside observing this bonds magi doing something shady
Yeah.
and like seen it happen, and just like clung to that name for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want our poor boy to have more trauma, but obviously he's probably got more trauma than we realize. So
Yeah. I think he's probably so. In what my prediction is, he's probably gonna get captured, and they're probably gonna go digging around in his memories, and we're gonna have to watch him like relive the memories like they did before, with like going into Patience's memories and stuff.
yeah,
And so I think it will be answered by the end. I don't. I want to believe that he's not a creepy necromancer with lost memories in
yeah,
that body.
yeah. Agreed, agreed. I'd much rather him just be a
Yeah,
a thief.
just a dude. But
Just
like,
a thief.
my goodness, what a. But like, my goodness, though, what a twist if that is true. And like, and wow, like never, like I was like joking about the Euro Wizard Lock thing before, but like this was not in any way, shape, or form how I imagined it going down. Like,
No, yeah,
dang, crazy.
yeah. I also didn't expect him and Sabetha to like so quickly like butt heads
Yeah.
and then have to just like get away from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also kind of shocked with how quickly Sabetha seemed to like consider it, even though knowing their background, I thought maybe she would have had a little more of a Jean-like response of like, "No, you're full of it," you know. But she seemed really quick to believe it, which I think also set Locke off. I think that was really disappointing to him, and it was
Well, in her defense, Patience
right.
also
Let me be clear. I'm not saying that in like I'm judging her for her
No, I
reaction way,
know.
but it's yeah.
I know. I think that the reason she reacted differently from Jean, though, is because Jean knew about the other like stories of like how Locke got his name, and she didn't realize that there were more versions of the story, and that there was more doubt in Locke's mind about who he was. And so
Yeah.
I think that put her off. That like, oh, there are things about you that I don't know already. I thought I knew everything, but I don't. And now this person is saying there's even more stuff that even you don't know. And that's really disconcerting because Sabetha likes to know everything and like be fully informed on a situation. So I think that she was like caught off guard and then just like fully pushed off her feet by the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely caught off guard. They both were. And I liked how later on in their notes to each other that they wrote, they both acknowledged the fact like, yeah, we were not at our best in that moment,
No.
and let's like apologize to each other for that and move on. And I was like, thank
Yeah.
you. Now we get the communication.
Yeah. And it feels like well earned.
Yeah,
It's
for
painful
sure.
getting there, but I'm glad we finally got there.
For sure.
That whole section where Sabetha gets the letter from Jean that's actually from Locke.
And when because Sabetha writes a letter to Locke first,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that was cute. But I specifically want to talk about this was the first time, and they acknowledged the first time that we'd had a Jean and Sabetha scene, just the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
and that was incredibly sweet, and just like the cutest.
I really like them as friends.
Yeah, like they're like best siblings kinds of friends.
Oh, I really enjoyed that interaction a lot.
Yeah,
And when he like twirls her around and sets her up on the table,
it was
that
cute.
was oh,
Yeah,
I love like um platonic. I love like really really close platonic relationships where like you don't have to like worry about like weird romantic
right.
possibilities. You
There's
just know
no
that they're
sexual tension. It's
yeah,
just
no.
like we are the best of buds.
Yeah.
But we've had
It
this
was
like
very
weird other friend kind of between us for a while in their case. Um,
yeah. His
so
best friend and her like ex
right, right,
kind of boyfriend.
yeah. So that was really cute. And then
Yeah.
the scene following that, she takes the letter and she goes out onto the roof because a thief's best roof is the night sky or whatever. Like there was so
Hmm.
much poetry in that section that we haven't seen for a while. And just like the way she moves and the way how thoughtful she is and how
Yeah, because that was the first
introspective.
time.
That was the
Yeah, that
first Sabbatha section.
we've never had Sabbath POV
No, and it
ever.
was excellent. And I wish
Hmm.
there was more of it. But sadly, there's not a whole lot of the book left, so I don't think it's going to happen a whole
Yeah.
lot. Um,
I mean, if we don't, at least they left us wanting more. I guess that's
yeah,
what they say you should do. But
yeah.
yeah, I really really enjoyed getting her POV because it also really humanized her.
Hmm.
Because we've only ever seen her through Locke's eyes and Jean's eyes, where she's like this like unstoppable force of just like
Feminine
she's
rage.
completely yeah, well, she's completely like stoic when she needs to be
Hmm.
and angry when she always looks so in control.
Hmm.
But then when we go into her POV, we can see that she is like it's a mask. Like
Hmm.
underneath, she is just as like when she's talking about like how her hands moved without her brain telling them to, and she just like couldn't open the letter fast enough. Her teeth were chattering because she was so nervous, and I'm
Hmm.
just like, oh man, you are also like really really head over heels for Locke, and
Yeah,
it was really nice to see her humanized in that way, and to like
yeah,
no, she like inside she is just as like shooketh
yeah,
as our boys are that we've had
yeah,
POVs for before. So that was really cool.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Ugh, such a good section. And then Locke's letter
Hmm.
was just grade A on an apology.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It was
owned up
almost
to his,
Shakespearean.
it,
It was like
yeah,
the way he wrote it was very eloquent.
owned up to his junk
Hmm.
and didn't like gave her the opportunity to accept his apology, but did not require that. And just like took ownership of what he did,
Hmm.
which was great. And even she
And he
was
said like,
surprised.
yeah. And he said, and she even said, well, she thought that in her mind there are two Locks, right?
Hmm.
There's the kind, considerate, caring one, and then there's the one that's like a stickler for tradition and rules and stuff.
Hmm.
And I think she thinks of the strict one as the bad one because I think that's the one that kind of drove her off
Hmm.
in the first place. That's the Locke that wanted everything to stay the same with the Gentleman Bastards.
Yeah.
But I think that also kind of lends credence to her half believing Patience's story at first because in her
Yeah.
mind there's already this like dichotomy of Locke Lamora
Hmm.
where there's like two different sides of him. So maybe in the back of her head she was like, maybe that other one that I don't like is like the ex Bondsmage personality leaking through or something.
Hmm.
But anyway, I was gonna say something else. What was it? Oh, and Locke. I really like the way Locke said in his letter, like, I know that you're gonna need that you want space. Just know that like say one word and I come running. Like I'm gonna give you the space you need for as long as you need.
Hmm.
But the moment you're ready to like reapproach this, like I'm there. So
Yeah.
it was a very sweet, very
Hmm.
heartfelt, emotional moment
Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
lovesick bastards.
Yes, yes. They're yeah. It was very adult. Like very grown up of them.
Yeah.
Which is saying something because half the time adults don't get it right. So
Yeah.
but
I liked seeing Sabetha scare the crap out of her guard on the roof.
that was great. That was great.
She just kind of like is there, and he's like, whoa! It's kind of like that Dwight and Angela meme where
Yes.
Angela's right next to him.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that.
I loved that. Yeah, it was a really good section. This whole reading was, but those
Yeah.
were really cool moments.
We also need to talk about the Nicaros of it all because what an idiot.
Yeah, Nikoros. Oh yes, good old Nikoros.
Okay, so
he is.
So Locke does the classic. They figure out that they've got a mole, and so
Yeah.
he does the classic. I'm going to tell people different things and see which thing, reveals the mole. I think that part of this was executed kind of poorly on Scott Lynch's part. I do not criticize Scott Lynch very often, so, and this is just my opinion.
Okay.
But typically in these kinds of scenarios where you're setting people up this way, right? You tell the group one thing, and then you tell one person something different. And you tell you tell them, like, there has to be a group theory or a group story, and then something slightly different that you tell the others, right? But in this instance, Locke just went to each individual person and told them something different and told them that it was a secret, only between the two of them. So then when Nicaros literally comes to Jean and Locke and says, hey, remember that place that you only told me about? It's been compromised. And it just made Nicaros like, what a dingbat was all I could think. It's like, you're the only one. You know that you're the only. So it wasn't that like Locke said, oh, this is what I told the group. Sorry you weren't there. Like, that's how Locke should have. Anyway, it just made Nicaros into a bigger dummy than he actually is.
Yeah, for sure. No, I remember. I'm glad you mentioned that because I would have forgotten about it. But I thought that when it was happening, I was like, wait, you told them all it was top secret, only them. So, like, none of them are going to tell.
Right. Except that Nicaros is an idiot.
Yeah. I half expected just, like, nothing to come of it, and they never figure out the Nicaros is a rat until, like, way later because, like, he never told them that. Because obviously he didn't. You told him it was confidential just between you and him.
Right.
So he's not. It's super obvious if that's the information that leaks. Then, so no, I'm with you. That was a bit of a blunder.
Yeah.
Easily fixed too, like in the writing. If you change that a little bit to like what you said. Oh, I told the group this. Sorry you weren't there.
And the only way that you could maybe like justify it is by saying that Nicaros wanted to tell them. Like he didn't want to be blackmailed. He wanted them to know. He almost confesses to Jean, but Locke doesn't know that.
Right. Yeah.
Jean doesn't know that. Like, so it doesn't actually make sense because the only way that that whole plan works then is if they're banking on it being Nicaros and that he feels bad about something and that he wants to tell on himself. But they had no reason to think that.
Yeah.
That whoever the mole was wanted to be found out. So that's just a little, it's fairly small in the grand scheme of things. But it was like, oh, you're so close to like that being executed perfectly, and then it's not.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's a valid critique, I would say, for sure. I agree with you. And then they never really outright said what they were doing with him, but I think it's implied, right, that they threw him on that pleasure barge and he's like sailing away. Is that what's happening?
I'm not really sure. I was also confused because like I'm also confused about what they did with that one guy that they were trying to buy the vote from. Like they never came right out and said, this is what we're doing.
Maybe it's a thing where it hasn't quite been revealed yet.
Yeah. But so
and then Sabetha meets up with Locke again.
Yeah, I'll admit that I was reading a little bit of the next chapter before my other book club started, so I might be thinking of I think that the Nikaros thing gets resolved really quickly in the next chapter.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I'm not going to say any more about that. But it has not been
Yeah.
resolved at this point. Just that Nikaros is dumb.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
Jean and Locke look at each other. Like, that moment was kind of funny where Locke just looks at Jean. And then Nikaros leaves and they're like, huh, didn't see that coming. Weird.
Yeah. Dang. You couldn't see that coming? He was a drug addict. Easily exploitable.
And a drug addict and clearly going through withdrawal.
Come on, guys.
So,
oh gosh.
Yeah, kind of a dumb move on our boys' part too. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, then there's the whole refugees thing where they were like gonna buy votes and then that gets thwarted, and the whole scene where Locke goes and tries to buy this one guy's vote, and it's pretty frustrating because the dude knows the whole plan. And then John gets involved somehow.
This whole thing has been just kind of like they're able to get away with really, really childish pranks on the Black Iris people, but everything else has basically been like, we devised this scheme to win, and then Sabetha's like, no, you didn't. No, you're...
Yeah.
Actually, I've outsmarted you yet again. So it's just like,
yeah.
They can't seem to make any like meaningful impact on anything. She's just constantly... Like, her defenses are just too good.
Okay. Maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I frankly don't actually care about this political thing at all.
Oh, yeah. I don't think...
I do not care who wins. Like, I'm not invested in Jean and Locke actually winning this one. I don't care.
No, me neither. Because we know, even if they don't win, like... We know what's going to happen whether they win or lose. They're going to, like, someone's going to try to abduct Locke.
Yeah.
At this point. Before, it was like, what happens if Sabetha wins? I don't know. What happens if they win? I don't know. But now we kind of know that regardless of the outcome, they're going to try to nab him. But, yeah, I also... Because we also don't know, like, what... I think it's not so much that we're supposed to care about which side wins because of, like... the political issues that they represent. I'm sure they're both equally garbage, but sounds familiar, right? But I think that it's more just in the context of it being Locke and Jean versus Sabetha. I think that's what we're supposed to care about. Just the conflict and
which I do care about that.
Yeah, I love hearing about just like the weird little jabs they take at each other, like dumping snakes down their chimneys and like
that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I felt like a lot of this chapter was Jean and Locke. Not a lot. Like, a third of this chapter was Jean and Locke legitimately trying to, like, make some progress in this campaign. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Get me back to the drama between the three of them. And getting that worked out. Or, like, throw in patience, like, stirring the pot and making things difficult where they don't need to be. Like, as annoying as she is, she's also fascinating.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's not true. I want to know what her like. See, if it's all not true and it was just her trying to get them to stop wanting to copulate, when they're supposed to be election rivals, like that seems like a pretty surface level. I'm sure there's some deeper thing. If it isn't true, I don't know. We'll see, but.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird.
We'll see. Maybe she just wanted him back because she is legitimately ticked off about how they mutilated her son. And
even though she said the whole time that she's not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
This could all be one big scheme to try to get payback.
Could be.
So, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But we're left with... So, Locke and Jean are going to be up in the same general area as Sabetha during the counting of the ballots and everything.
She's invited them to be in the same booth with her, which I think is nice.
And she has also like arranged an escape route for them all.
See, I think that since we haven't seen Sabetha's side of the story a whole lot, I think that she knows more about like what happens if they don't win than the boys do. Or I think she knows what's possibly at stake anyway. At risk? What am I trying to say?
I just thought of something.
What?
I just thought of something.
What?
Is Sabetha her real name?
Oh no.
Because here's the thing. If that's her, if the Bonds Magi know her true name and they can control her, that's all a scheme, isn't it? That is all. That's where they're going to nab him. She's going to say this is an escape route, and then it's not going to be an escape route. It's going to be the Bonds Magi on the Black Iris side kidnapping him. Because they will have compelled her to do that.
But oh no. Oh no.
None of that's real. None of that's real. I would put money on it right now that is a setup from the other Bonds Magi to capture Locke. Because they said they were going to do something election night in the Intersect. I have not even thought about how Sabetha might be totally enthralled. Like, in the same way
an
that
unwilling participant. Yeah.
Yeah. In the same way that the Deep Roots people are kind of like charmed into like doing whatever Locke and Jean say, you know? Maybe Sabetha is kind of being, well, not kind of, maybe she is being manipulated in a direct way to get Locke back. Like, I think that the letter thing was real. I don't, because that seemed way too genuine, right? I wouldn't be surprised if she like comes to after the ballots are counted and she has no memory of that last interaction though, where she's like, I didn't tell you to meet me in this place. Like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of moment.
Yeah, because that interaction did seem very sudden and very quick and just like, yeah, it's all fine. We're fine. Which like, I think that genuinely they would have that conversation. But I think you might be right that that could have been a compulsion that they put on her.
And maybe like, I'm not saying she was possessed in that moment, but maybe they planted that seed in her mind. Like, you're going to tell him to meet you in this place, like kind of like hypnosis, right? Mm-hmm. Where like you give someone a suggestion and they do it. So you're going to tell him to meet you up here. You're going to tell them that you've arranged an escape route for when you lose and the Deep Roots people are mad. And then, I think that's definitely a setup.
So in that case, are they taking into account the Jean of it all?
In what way? You mean, like, what are they going to do with Jean?
Because she also wanted Jean there. And I don't know. I know. But
well,
they also know his true name. Oh.
The Bonds Magi know Jean's name, so it doesn't matter. Jean is basically worthless in any fight with the Bonds Magi.
Oh, no. I hope you're wrong.
I'm not. I
hope you're wrong.
I bet Sabetha and Jean are just like, boom, paralyzed. And then Locke gets scooped up. And then they're going to do some digging in his brain. And maybe Sabetha and Jean devise a way to, like, break him out. Maybe we get a Jean and Sabetha team up to break Locke out of wizard jail.
There are only 2 chapters and an epilogue left.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen. This better not end on a cliffhanger. I'm so mad.
No, I think there has to be resolution at the end of this book. Because I don't believe that Scott Lynch knew that he was going to get a 4th book. Because it's been 10 years.
Yeah. I hope so. But, yeah, dude, I will die on the hill right now that is a setup. I'm so convinced.
Watch next week. Well, guys, Joseph died on that hill.
if it's not true, I will at least say all the signs were pointing to it being a setup.
No, I completely agree. I think that you have a very valid point here. I just really hope it's not true.
Yeah. I mean, same. I also hope that that's not true, but I feel like it definitely is. Anyway, we got to talk about this interlude section. This is going to be a long episode. There's so much to talk about.
The interlude, I don't feel like there's as much to talk about in the interlude, honestly. Right. They finish Bullet Ozzy off, or whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. And they come up with this plan of getting rid of the body. And it's very convoluted and messy.
They have to rope everyone in on it. Mm-hmm. All the theater people need to know about it. And they perform the play.
Well, okay, so when they're telling the other like main theater people, Moncrane does not pass the vibe check.
No, he's trash.
He goes
He is
straight to victim blaming Janora. And I'm just like,
garbage human.
dude. And then Sylvanas, who knew, true gentleman, punches Moncrane in the face and is like, nah, man, I stand with Janora on this one. You're so out of line. And if she hadn't done it, I would have done it for her. Like, yes.
And
Sylvanas for the win.
Yeah, and Sylvanas was even like walked up to Janora and he was like, if you did what you did, like defending your honor, I'm proud of you and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cute.
Yes.
He has a heart.
He does. And he's even like,
not an idiot.
He's so funny because he's even like, there may not be a lot of good reasons to know me, but I will help you take care of this body.
Yeah.
Which, like, covering up a murder, not great. But, it was in self-defense. It's not our world.
Right. Right. So, that happens. They devise this plan to still get the money from the performances and also frame it as, like, they're going to burn him so they can't figure out what killed him. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Exhausting. When it's all said and done, though, they do their performances. Locke and Sabetha get to kiss on stage. We get to see Locke get like the butterflies about performing in front of people, which is like such low stakes compared to like what we're used to in the regular chapter now with like this election thing. It's like, oh my gosh, get over it, kid.
Yeah, just you wait, buddy.
Like man, you're gonna get into sword fights with pirates and like duel people and like. Just you wait. But anyway, so they do their performances. Sabetha has to basically pretend to be getting it on with Boladazi after he's dead. Like, she's constantly having to pretend to be sleeping with him in the moment when all of his people try to talk to him, and I feel so bad for her. It's like, oh my gosh. And Locke even says, like, look, there's a way that we get out of this, but it's not going to be dignified at all for you, and I'm so sorry. Sabetha's like, well, it's better than hanging, so...
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. But, yeah.
And then Moncrane, once again, does not pass the vibe check.
Yeah, there's this whole thing with this lady is actually coming in to like as a third party to do the money stuff.
Exchange, yeah.
And so they have to try to find a way to fool her and get the money, and they do. They like take his ring and like they contrive all these scenarios to make it work out to where she just leaves the money without actually interacting with Boladazi. At least she thinks that she is like through a door, and Moncrane's pretending to be him. But anyway. And then Moncrane just makes off with all the hard-earned coin.
Did he like?
And
as far as the scheme is concerned, he didn't do a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah. And I think that it's. I loved when they were like, yeah, he did this, and he made enemies of you, and he also made enemies of our master. In Camor, and he's going to be looking over his shoulder the rest of his life. I was like, yeah, Chains is going to be pissed when he hears that Moncrane, because Moncrane's actions just totally screwed them in a way that could have gotten all of them killed. Chains isn't going to be too happy about that. But
they Sabetha and Locke go talk to the one lady and convince her that Moncrane was the one that killed. Like, they figure out that there's another way to explain the murder of Boladazi now. That's honestly even more believable than what they had originally come up with because Moncrane did this. So that kind of worked out in their favor. Also, they didn't want to tell Janora's aunt, who's the innkeeper, and then we get the reveal from her that, like, she gets rid of bodies all the time because people die in the inn.
That was so good. I loved that
She's like,
so much.
Yeah, whatever. I'll help with this. I don't care.
You stupid Komori thought this was the first time I had to dispose of a body. I work in an inn in a shady part of town.
There are often bodies where there shouldn't be bodies. And they just go in the lake. Or in the river or whatever.
Yeah. much more convenient if they're found in the lake than in one of my rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh my goodness. Also, I feel like, okay, we were talking before about how old Janora is,
Yes.
and I think that maybe we were thinking of the aunt
I think
being
so.
like the older one. Janora, I don't think is
She's still
like
older than
Jean.
Jean, but not an
She's
old
not
lady.
the gray.
Yeah.
She's not the gray hair one.
I don't think so.
So Montcrain is made off with the money. They're going to try to pin the murder on him.
Which they pretty successfully do.
For Baldazzi. Yeah, they pretty successfully did. The theater, they're trying to get the theater people taken care of with like the money situation.
Seems like they did. Oh, you know what? We
Good
didn't
on
talk
them.
about how the
Espara.
Thank you. The Aspara people thought that the Sabetha's cover story is like that she's a royal in disguise, and so they're like trying to arrange a marriage with Baldazzi, and they think it's going to be beneficial, and she's just like, he's dead,
And I'm not really a royal.
Never.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I guess we'll see if we actually get to see Montcrain get his comeuppance in the next interlude. Hopefully we will.
I suspect he's just gone. Maybe he'll show up in the main storyline, and suddenly there'll be...
Oh gosh,
he'll be in
wouldn't that be crazy?
Carthane all of a sudden. And they'll be like, you.
Oh,
All these years.
Scooby-Doo moment. They pull the mask off Patience and it's Montcrain.
I mean, the book is called The Republic of Thieves,
Right.
which is the name of the
You know.
play.
You know? Alright, cool. So, next time, finish the dang book.
Yeah, finish it up. Chapter 11, 12 and the epilogue. And we'll give our final thoughts then. So,
Excited to polish it off and
yes.
hopefully we get a conclusion that is satisfying.
I'm sure we will.
There's not a lot of book left, and I have so many questions, so
Yes,
we'll see what happens.
yes. All right. Well, close us out, my dude.
Okay, until next time, happy reading.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Later.
Bye.